KidMissing TV. This time we are going to focus on the cases of missing minority children. These children don't get nearly the attention that white children get in our mainstream media, especially blonde-haired, blue-eyed female children. They just seem to be the preference of our media. But we here at KidMissing, all children are our preference, regardless of race, creed, or color. We're going to start with a little African-American girl named Brittany Williams. Brittany's mom passed away shortly after Brittany's birth. They both had the AIDS virus. Brittany was left in the care of a woman by the name of Kim Parker, who ran Rainbow Kids and took care of other disabled children. In the year 2000, Brittany disappeared. It was never reported. In January of 2003, authorities became aware of the fact that Brittany was missing. In May of that year, authorities searched Parker's home and went so far as to drain her septic system to look for remains or signs that the little girl had been killed there. One of Brittany's distinguishing characteristics, aside from the fact that she has the AIDS virus, is that she has a portacath for her medications. Now, I know exactly what a portacath is because I, too, had one when I went through chemotherapy. It is a catheter. It's under the skin, in the chest, about here. Mine was further down because of my disease. And you can't see it. You may see a bump, or you may see marks where it's accessed. But that's what you'll see if you would look at her skin. Parker was charged with other crimes in relationship to Brittany's disappearance, but they don't have the evidence to prove that she did anything to Brittany. She even said she gave Brittany to some people in California. This hasn't been proven out either. We can hope that that's the case and that Brittany is getting the medical attention she needs, otherwise she may not be alive today. Also, the charges that she was charged with were fraud charges for continuing to get medical benefits for Brittany, even though she was not in her care, and she used these benefits to put an addition onto her home. Brittany was 7 years old at the time of her disappearance. She disappeared from the city of Richmond, Virginia, which is the same place that the little boy in our next case disappeared from. Jamal Abdul Farouk and his brother Basil Abdul Farouk disappeared on April 16th, 1990, also from Richmond, Virginia. 3 days later, on April 19th, the body of Basil Abdul Farouk, age 8, was located in a local landfill. Basil had been murdered. Jamal is still missing. The two boys routinely walked to school on their own as their mother worked nights and slept during the day. And they went out to play. And, their mother didn't think anything of them going out to play. When they discovered Basil, they found that his mouth had been gagged and his body had been bound with duct tape. He had been stabbed twice in the back and his skull was fractured. What a horrible death for any person but an 8-year-old child. What can an 8-year-old child do to make you do such horrible violence to them? The autopsy concluded the stab wounds killed Basil and that the skull fracture actually happened after his death, mercifully. They still do not know who took the children or who killed Basil. And they can't figure out which dumpster Basil had been dumped in to start with because they've got 90 dumpsters. that were dumped in that area of the landfill that day. Both parents were cleared. They've been extremely cooperative. They didn't have DNA testing back then, so they are looking at the duct tape to determine whether they can get the suspect's DNA from the duct tape now. At the end of the program, I will give you all the phone numbers for the local law enforcement agencies for each case. And as always, 1-800-THE-LOST is an option. This next little girl, also African American, has a special place in my heart. I've been following her case almost since day one. Her name is Asha Degree, or Asha Jaquilla Degree. Asha disappeared on February 14th, 2000. She was 9 years old, from Shelby, North Carolina. She disappeared in the middle of the night. She was seen at 4 a.m. walking down the side of a busy highway, and nobody stopped. That just blows my mind, and the mind of every other adult that I've ever spoken to in regards to this case. Because it just makes no sense. And about 20 miles from her home, her book bag was found along North Carolina's Route 18, 5 miles south of a town called Morgantown. Asha's belongings were found in the bag. And they have been clear to say that this case is still an ongoing investigation. Her parents have never given up hope that they will see their daughter again. Their names are Harold and Aquila Degree. Asha also has a little brother. Asha's website is http://hunt-for-asha-degree.blogspot.com. There is a group on the internet, and I'm not even going to give them the satisfaction of telling you the name of this group. They called Asha's very real story a hoax. It's been shown that this group is made up of registered sex offenders and drug abusers. When the group was vetted, this is what was learned of them. In 2012, a billboard was erected near Asha's home by the FBI to garner new leads in Asha's case. The FBI in Charlotte says this is still an active case, and we still get new leads from time to time. Again, I will give you all the phone numbers at the end of the program. This cutie patootie is 2-year-old Christopher Dansby, also African American. He disappeared on May 18, 1999, from the Martin Luther King playground in his housing complex. Again, he was 2 years old. This was in Harlem, New York. Interestingly, in his case, he was taken from the same complex that Carolina White, that her mother lived at the time that Carolina was taken from the hospital. Not that the cases have anything to do with each other, but it's just an interesting little fact. There was also, they believe that there could be a black market baby ring because another baby, 6-week-old Andre Bryant, was taken in March of 1989. And all the children are African American. There's very little known about Christopher's case. just basically where he was taken from, his name, and all the typical things. Unfortunately, there were no witnesses, and if there were, they were probably 2 years old, which is not a very reliable witness. Unfortunately, that's it on Christopher. We're going to take a look at his posters, his age progression. Alexis Patterson. This is another case I have followed from day one. May 3rd, 2002, the adorable 7-year-old African-American girl disappeared walking to school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She was 3 feet 8 inches tall, 42 pounds. Her stepfather, Laurent Bourgois, told police that he walked her the half block from their home to High Mount, 4921 West Garfield Avenue. And the last saw her crossing the street toward the school. The Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department is offering a $10,000 reward in Alexis's case for information leading directly to the whereabouts of Alexis Patterson. Alexis's case got overshadowed by another case at the time that she disappeared. And there were a few people in the mainstream media who got very angry that her case was overshadowed by that of another child. I believe it was Judge Puro. Adji Desir. Adji's family lived in a, how do I explain this? It's an immigrant community, an itinerant workers community in Milwaukee, Florida. He was 6 years old, but Adji was severely handicapped. He was nonverbal. He understands his name. He can't speak it. He understands Creole because his family came from Haiti, and they speak Creole there. Adji's grandmother had been watching him all day while his mother worked. He was last seen at 5:15 on January 11th, 2009, when he went outside to play with friends. Again, Milwaukee is an itinerant farming community made up of Haitian immigrants, like Adji's family. Officers were quoted as saying, "It's tough not only as law enforcement officers, but most of the people involved are parents. As time goes by, it does make it more difficult. But we are never going to give up hope. And they will follow up on any tips received." Adji's mom was expecting Adji's baby sister at the time that Adji disappeared. They have never met. Let's make that happen. Anthonette Gallup. This is a case you've probably heard of if you're a fan of the program Unsolved Mysteries, because this case was featured on there. Anthonette, unlike the other cases we've covered so far that are all African American, or in Adji's case, Haitian, also black, children, Anthonette was both Native American and Hispanic. Anthonette disappeared April 6, 1986. She was 9 years old. Interestingly, she was born on Christmas Day, 1976. She disappeared from Gallup, New Mexico. She was actually living on the reservation. According to her little sister, who didn't tell this story for years, a man came to the door, said he was their uncle, and Anthonette opened the door. When Anthonette opened the door, he grabbed her. She was thrown into a van. How much can be relied upon the memory of a 5-year-old at age 10? I'm not sure, quite honestly. But that's up to everybody individually to make up their own minds. A little over a year after her disappearance, though, there was a 911 call made. And this call, the recording of this call, was played for Anthonette's mother. And Anthonette's mother confirmed what the little girl in the call said, that it was Anthonette. Later on, Anthonette, or what is believed to have been her, was seen in a restaurant with a couple described as kind of grubby. It was just a few years later. She would have been about 14 or 15 at the time. She was seen again with a grubby couple in a restaurant diner type place, and she squeezed the waitress's hand. She was looking down, like this, and real nervous. She knocked her fork on the floor. The waitress got her another one, and when she did, that is actually when Anthonette squeezed her hand. And Anthonette left a note. Help me. No, call police. I've been kidnapped, or something along those lines. But she was already gone. And when the waitress heard of Anthonette Gallup, she got a hold of the Gallup police and let them know that she had seen Anthonette. And lastly, the mother went to a Native American shaman, medicine woman type thing. And she told the mother that Anthonette was still alive and that Anthonette had had a baby. Could be right, could be wrong. We really don't know. So why not have the hope? Her mother certainly believed it as a Native American woman, so why would we doubt that? Sofia Juarez. Sofia was a Hispanic female. She was 4 years old. Absolutely flipping adorable. You see her pictured there in her cute little hat, and her cute little pink dress. She was taken on February 4th, 2003, one day before her 5th birthday. From her home in Kennewick, Washington. They've had several dead-end tips. All sorts of urban legends have popped up in the area. Some of the reports say she was abducted by someone she knows and living in Mexico. Another tip is that she was taken by a stranger or murdered or is being held somewhere against her will. Another rumor said she was hit by a van and buried somewhere. There's no credibility to any of that. The advancement of social media also entered the investigation a couple of years ago when detectives got a tip that Sofia Juarez was on Facebook, living in Long Beach, California. But that tip was unfounded, and the case stalled yet again. Oh, excuse me. Sofia was the subject of Washington State's first ever Amber Alert. Since her disappearance, her picture has been featured on the TV series America's Most Wanted, the side of a NASCAR race car. How cool is that? In Times Square and on the side of a fleet of semis that travel back and forth across the country. She is one of 76 children from Washington State who were listed with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's way too many folks. Sofia's family moved back to California a few years after her disappearance, and her mother, Maria, died 4 years ago from medical complications without ever knowing what happened to her beautiful baby. And her mother also had a baby boy that Sofia never knew. She had the day that, or the evening that Sofia disappeared, there was a miscommunication. She was going to follow a family friend to the store with $1 her grandmother had given her. And he didn't know she was following him, and this was 8:30 in the evening. So anything could have happened to this beautiful 4-year-old child just because there was a little miscommunication. And the man felt terrible. The man was actually the grandmother's boyfriend, and he felt just horrible because he didn't know she was supposed to go with him. And that just led to some massive confusion. Now what I'd like to do is give you the telephone numbers and the information you need if you have a tip on these cases. Okay, let's start from the beginning. If you have information in the case of Brittany Williams, please call the Henrico County Police at 1-804-501-5000. 1-804-501-5000. If you have information on the case of Jamal Abdul Farouk, please call Metro Richmond Crime Stoppers at 804-780-1000. Again, 804-780-1000. If you have information on the case of Asha Degree, you can contact the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office at 704-484-4787. Again, 704-484-4787, or the FBI Charlotte office at 704-672-6100. If you have any information on little Christopher Dansby, you can call the New York Housing Police Squad 28 at 212-876-7100. 212-876-7100. And all of these phone numbers will be listed below when you're watching this on YouTube. If you have any information in the case of Asha Degree, again, there is a $10,000 reward. Call the Milwaukee Police Department Sensitive Crime Division at 414-935-7401. 414-935-7401. Or the Milwaukee County Sheriff's or their alternate number is 414-935-7302. Or the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department at 414-278-4788. 414-278-2788. If you have any information on the disappearance of Adji Dasir, please call 1-800-780-TIPS. That's 1-800-780-8477. Or the Sheriff's Department at 239-793-9300. 239-793-9300. If you have any information on Anthonette Gallup, you may dial 1-800-THE-LOST. Or again, for any of these cases, 1-800-THE-LOST. That is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. By the way, now that we've been through the cases, move these out of the way, I just want to mention to you that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children grew out of the Adam Walsh Foundation. It was Adam's case that caused the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to be founded, and caused missing children to be put into the crime computer so other places knew a child was missing. They never allowed that before Adam's case. Also, I mentioned in Sofia's case, she was the first Amber Alert in the state of Washington. Today, the Amber Alert is in all 50 states. The Amber Alert is in Canada, and the Amber Alert is also in the United Kingdom. In some states, it might be called something a little different. In Florida, it's called a Riley Alert for a little girl who somehow was in foster care in the state, lost her. Her name was Riley Wilson. They still don't know where she is. In the state of Georgia, it's called a Levi's call, after a little boy named Levi Frady. So no matter what you call it, these children didn't die in vain, because their names and their memories are kept alive. Amber's mother, each time a child is brought home through an Amber Alert, looks up to heaven and says, "We did it, baby girl." Or, "We did it again, baby girl." And it's her way of keeping Amber alive. And hopefully, through the Amber Alert, bringing awareness to that case will get it solved. Oh, and I should mention, while we're on the subject of the different state Amber Alerts, in Arkansas, it's called a Morgan Nick Alert, or a Morgan Nick Amber Alert. Morgan Nick was kidnapped from an evening baseball game in her small Arkansas town. Also featured on Unsolved Mysteries. So each state has their own children that they recognize and that they use for these alerts. But we have way too many children that are missing and way too many minorities. I didn't even scratch the surface with the 8 that I told you about tonight. There's so many more, including, 2 sisters that disappeared, Diamond and Tananda Bradley. Just some of the most disturbing to me, that we just don't hear about these cases. Especially when you have tiny children, you have vulnerable children who don't speak, who are that severely handicapped, like Adji. I don't care if these children don't look like me. They're still children, and they still deserve the same attention that a pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Natalie Holloway, Molly Bish, all these kids that got all the attention deserve. And little boys deserve that attention also, and they don't get it either. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to dedicate this show to each of these children that I talked to you about today, and all the ones I didn't get to, who for whatever reason have not gotten the attention they deserve. Today I hope we've given them a little attention and opened your eyes that there are more missing children than just white children. Yeah. I mean, we're a melting pot. We have more than just white people in this country. And like I said, I hope we've opened your eyes to that today. Thank you for taking the time to watch this program, and I hope that you will watch future broadcasts as well. I don't have any tips this month, because my planned tips were Halloween tips. It's a little late. I guess that will be all. Again, thank you so much. Good night, and God bless.